everyone, this is Jenny and I'm here with Dr. Taniesha Burke for Parenting the Fascinating Way. And Dr. T is going to talk to us today. This is actually episode 17, and she's going to talk to us today about the question of whether you should separate twins in school. So what do you think?
Hi guys, so this is a question that was posed to me on my Facebook page. So just to let you know, if you have any questions that you want us to answer, feel free to leave it under the videos or on Facebook. So yes, the question, should twins be separated? There are lots of arguments for and against having them separated. I am for the arguments that yes, they should be separated, and here's why I say that. We have to think long-term as it relates to their development. Now, when you have twins, you will have one who might be stronger academically. You might have one who might be stronger athletically. When you have them in the same class, even though teachers may work really hard to not compare them, you will have comparisons. And if it's a comparison where one is better than the other, that can definitely affect their self-esteem. So when you put them in separate classes, you are actually allowing them to develop at their own pace so that they're not actually competing with their twins. And that kind of competition, if not monitored well as well, can lead to a negative form of competition that can actually damage their relationship. Also, one of the things too, because they're twins and they've basically spent their entire lives together, is that they only want to socialize with each other. So it becomes difficult for them to make friends. And part of the school experience is learning how to socialize with other children and build your social group. So if they're always together with no one else, then they cannot definitely build social relationships. And that again influences their independence. So the challenge with twins is that they tend to be codependent. Yeah, they're always looking out for each other. And so they don't learn to stand on their own 2 feet. And when you separate them, then they have to learn to be more independent, and they have to know how to interact with others who may not be like their other twin. Also, you have a twin who might be the dominant one. So he or she might be the one making all the decisions. So the other twin is kind of, second place, not learning to have a voice for themselves. And that can also affect their sense of worth, their self-esteem, and also the level of independence that they have. Because also they know each other so well, they're going to distract each other in class. They might have their secret language, their secret codes, and so on. And so instead of focusing on what's going on with the schoolwork, they end up focusing on each other. So parents, long term, you have your children developing independence. You're teaching them to interact with others who may not be like them or their other twin. You're teaching them also to focus on their own skills, talents, and abilities instead of comparing themselves with their other twin. And so for me, I think it's better to have them separated on the long term. But also, what you can do is speak to close family friends or family members, the pediatrician, people who have interacted a lot with your children. Ask them what their opinion is, because sometimes, children can act differently when they're with their parents compared to when they're with others. And you can get their perspective on whether they think it would be appropriate for the twins to be separated. One thing I should highlight is that when separating them, the first week will definitely be a challenge. There'll be lots of tears. They'll miss each other a lot. But here's where you come in as a parent. Before the separation, you speak to them, let them know what's going to happen. When you pick them up at school for the first week, you make sure you support them, hear their stories, hear their challenges, help them come up with solutions on how they can handle being separated with their twins for a couple of hours. And once you have that, and in collaboration with the teachers, you will see that they will transition into their own group, forming their own identity, being very independent and not having to compete with each other.
Fantastic. So they learn to develop their own personal autonomy, basically.
You don't want one to be, you don't want one to be in the shadow of the other. And that tends to happen sometimes when one is better than the other in some things, or one might be the class favorite and the other isn't, and so on. So when you give them their own atmosphere, their own environment to develop who they are, it's much better for them. And then at the end of the school day, guess what? they would have so much to talk about, because they would say, this is what happened in my class, is what my friends are doing, and so on. So they have a lot more to bond about or around when they go home together as well.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. That was so interesting.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us for episode 17. We will be back again next week with a whole new topic, Parenting the Fascinating Way with Dr. Taniesha Burke.
Yes, take care. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.